Hey Dan, how are you?
Hi, not too bad, thank you. Yourself?
Good, pretty good. What do you think about the first episode that we have?
I think it went pretty well. We got a lot of feedback. We got a lot of views.
Did you feel famous about it?
Not yet, but hopefully we will someday.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So I brought you so many more questions right now with myself. It's about the flood that happened on the 1st of July, the
yeah,
Canada Day, the storm that happened. So
yeah.
are you ready for these questions?
We can try to be ready,
Okay.
but yeah, I know you make things hard for me, so let's try it.
So it has been about 17 days since the flood here in Ottawa. The most common question homeowners are asking right now is, what should be my absolute top priority today?
Yeah. If you haven't started with mitigation, absolutely start that right away. After the flood, you've got typically about 24 to 48 hours to before the mold start growing. So if you haven't done so, I would start with taking at least 2 feet of drywall all around the perimeter of the house, insulation, all of the floors, and start the drying process by installing air movers and dehumidifiers. But before you do that, you should test the products that you have in your basement for asbestos. It's very important, asbestos and mold, to be tested so that if it's asbestos, you can call an asbestos company and you don't run the risk of doing it yourself. If you have a contractor or you know of a contractor that can handle this, then I would highly recommend to call the contractor rather than doing it yourself.
If a homeowner pumped the water out of the basement and it looks dry, are they safe, or is there a hidden water doing damage behind the walls?
Yeah, dumping the water, I mean, obviously pumping the water out of the basement, that was a priority for sure. And if you've done so, congratulations on yourself. But that's not where the puck stops. What we need to do now is we need to do the mitigation, which is, like I said earlier, take the 2 feet of drywall all around. And the reason being is the baseboards and the drywall and the insulation, it absorbs the moisture from the bottom of the floor, and it absorbs it upwards. So even if you had, let's say, an inch of water, that water now has been absorbed into all of the other materials, and it's enclosed in an area where there's no air movement, there's no drying. It's a breeding ground for mold.
So that's the reason we have to cut the wall a bit more than the water itself.
That's correct, yeah. So it's typically 2 feet that we recommend to people.
Right.
Because once you remove the drywall, you also have insulation underneath there. So that has to be removed as well. And there's no way for us to get behind the walls and dry that area. So we have to remove that, make sure it's completely dry before we start doing anything else with there.
A lot of people are leaving their basement windows open to dry out. Does that actually help, or does the Ottawa summer humidity makes it even worse?
That's a good question. It definitely does not help. And what I mean by that is during the summer, obviously in July right now, it's super hot outside. It's plus 30 degrees in some cases. So typically the basement are below ground level. And the basement, even without turning the air conditioner on, they're typically cooler than the outside air. So once you open the windows, what's going to happen is that you've got the hot air and the cool air colliding all the time. It's going to create condensation. That condensation then is going to pull around your foundation frame, and that is going to create more mold. So what you want to do is definitely keep the windows and the doors shut and put the air movers and dehumidifiers on.
What's the danger of just shutting the basement door and ignoring the problem until the insurance company finally calls back?
That is actually like a ticking time bomb. If you do that, what's going to happen is you're exposing yourself to a lot more liability. The insurance, most of the insurance policies, actually all of them, they have a clause that says it's your responsibility to mitigate any further damage after the thunderstorm. So that would be considered in their part negligence, because when you close everything, it's like an incubator where everything is closed off, and it's going to allow the mold to grow a lot more. And once you close that in, you assume that you're safe upstairs and you're containing the problem. What a lot of people don't realize is that the air from the furnace, the ductwork, is being brought from downstairs upwards. So you run the risk of contaminating the upstairs as well. So you don't want to do that. And get back to what I was saying about the insurance policy, if you have more damage that is after the thunderstorm happened in Ottawa, July 1st, that would be a response on you as a homeowner responsibility. So they're not going to cover you. That additional work that needs to happen, a lot of insurances will not cover that. So definitely do not do that.
Okay. Insurance adjusters are totally back up right now. Should homeowners pause all the work while they wait, or do they need to act now?
Please don't. You definitely want to act now. You don't want to pause any of the mitigation work right now. You want to document everything that you're doing. So every obviously thing that you've done and you're doing right now, or your contractor, the best way obviously is to have a contractor. The contractor will do all that work for you. But even if you have contractors, you want to take a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, a lot of evidence so that you can submit it to the adjusters. A lot of them are backed up right now, so it's going to take, you have to be a bit patient. I think we had over 7,000 people that have been, or houses.
7,000.
Yeah, 7,000 houses that have been affected in Ottawa with this thunderstorm from July 1st, at least according to the city data. So it's going to take some time for all the adjusters and all of the companies to do their work. But you cannot just sit and wait for this to happen. Insurance company. So if you have a contractor that's doing work, let them do the work. At least the first stage of mitigation, that has to be done right now. And if you do that, most of the insurances, if you have the policy that covers you for this kind of loss, the insurance will reimburse you the money, and the contractors as well.
Homeowners are terrified of voiding their insurance claim. What do they absolutely need to document or photograph before tearing things out?
Yeah, I would say everything. So you start with the video of once the flood obviously has happened. I assume that a lot of people have gone and taken some pictures. You want to document how much water you have. So in some cases, some of my clients have had up to 3 feet of water, and they had washers and dryers basically just floating in the basement. They had losses of obviously of the furnace, the water boiler, and all that kind of combined together. So if you obviously have taken a video and you've taken pictures, you want to take pictures of all the content that is in the basement. If some of it can be a salvageable, then great. But if you don't have documentation, the insurance companies are not going to reward you for anything. If you have documentation, you have proof that this is the damage, this is what happened, this is so far what we have done with our contractor, then the insurance will most likely cover you for that.
A major frequently asked questions right now is, does my standard insurance actually cover overland flooding and sewer backup?
A normal policy, my understanding, does not cover those two things. However, that does not mean that those are not covered, because a lot of people have bought additional policy, so additional product in their policy, I mean. So a lot of people would be covered because they're smart enough to get that under their policy, I would say.
If the insurance company offers a quick cash settlement right now, is it usually like a smart move to take it?
No, I would say definitely not, because two things are happening. When it's quick cash settlement, what's happening is that additional things might arise during construction. So, the insurance might have on their list basically change A, B, C, and D. And once you settle up with that, you're doing A, B, C, and D. But when we're doing the work during the job, additional things might arise as a result, and then that file is closed and you can't go back to them and ask for more type of thing. The price also changes between now and whenever you're ready to do the work, just because of the demand of the labor cost and everything that's going on. So, and then thirdly, I would say no, because the insurance usually typically, they depend on what's called the price list. So the price list, they have data of what normal prices would be costing in the area of Ottawa, but they're not as accurate, and they're usually below the market value. So that being said, if they offer you that quick settlement cash and you take it, you're going to have a hard time to find a contractor that's able to be profitable, do your job with that price. So typically the contractor's pricing ends up being higher than the listed price from the insurance company.
Settlement.
Yeah, so the settlement definitely say no, do some groundwork, hire a contractor to do a quote, and get them to approve the quote the actual contractor has given you. So that way the contractor, because they are going to honor that quote they give you. They give you a quote, they told you what they're going to do, and that basically will be the best route possible.
If homeowner finds out they are not covered by insurance, what's the most cost-effective way to just make the house safe again?
Yeah, mitigation for sure. So if you obviously don't have insurance, then what I would do is either hire a contractor. If you are comfortable doing it yourself, you can do it yourself as well. Remove 2 feet of drywall, but again, before you remove the drywall, make sure some of the older houses have older drywall, and if it has some asbestos in it, and you're removing it without proper equipment, and you're breathing, obviously all the asbestos is not good for your respiratory health. So I would definitely recommend that you do the testing. Testing for asbestos is very, very simple. There's a lot of labs. Google one lab in Ottawa. You only need a sample of the size of a tuning, so you can cut a hole in a drywall, or you can take like a little bit of sample of a tile. Wear a mask when you're doing it. N95 mask would be ideal. Take that sample, put it in a Ziploc so that you're not contaminating that sample, and then take it to a lab. Typically, a test runs about a couple $100. You get the results within a week. If you get something faster, it costs about $4. But at least once you have the test results back, you'll know if you need to hire an asbestos company to deal with the demo properly. If you don't have asbestos, then you're free to do whatever you want. And whatever you want, well, obviously within the norms of what you need to do to achieve the results that you're trying to, which is to dry the basement, get rid of the mold, and make the basement healthy again for you to be there. So finish the basement remediation, insulation 2 feet, drywall 2 feet, remove all the floor, and take everything away. Put some air movers everywhere. Close the windows. We talked about that. Very important. Please don't leave the windows open. I know it's tempting to do so. And dehumidifiers. If you don't have a commercial dehumidifier, you can get a residential dehumidifier. Run them 24/7 for a while. When it's all done, you can get a moisture reader, and make sure that the moisture reads below 15% before you do any of the work. However, because you don't have insurance, you can prolong the process, so you don't have to. Once you do the mitigation, which is important, you can take your time on rebuild. So you can do that whenever time for you to do. But the things that you cannot prolong is the mitigation part.
What about soaked flooring? Can industrial fans save laminate or hardwood, or is it an automatic tear out?
It is automatic tear out because a lot of these products that you're talking about, they're made out of MDF. They absorb the water, they swell, and then once the water has been absorbed into the product, it's being trapped in there. It's staying there for a long time. So there would be no good. It would be complete tear out.
People have heavy solid wood furniture that sat in water for a day. Is that salvageable, or does it have to be thrown out completely?
Yeah, depends on the actual wood pieces or the product that it's made of. If you have, let's say, oak furniture and everything is made out of oak, they can do a lot better with water than MDF. MDF, right. Once it sees the water, starts swelling, then it's basically complete right up and you throw it out. So if it's oak and it looks good, it hasn't absorbed, it's soaked in any of the water, you just clean it up and you're good to go. If it's not, if you see any swelling on your furniture, that would be basically a sign for you to throw that out.
What about furnaces?
Furnaces, good point. Depending on how much water you've had in your basement. If you had 1 inch, water and it hasn't reached obviously high enough to get to all the electrical wiring onto that, then you'd be good. But you still want to clean the ductwork because a lot of the ductwork probably is contaminated with everything that's been going on for a while. If it's working, I would say yes. But we had a lot of losses where people have had 3 feet of water, like I said earlier. So 3 feet of water, it hasn't reached obviously to all the electrical.
They have to throw it away.
Then it doesn't work. You're calling the HVAC guys to replace that for sure.
Are store-bought dehumidifiers enough to handle flooded basement, or do homeowners absolutely need commercial gear for that?
Yeah, so store-bought, like if you have lots of them, with the air movers combination, you would be fine for sure. The commercial ones, basically, they just work a lot faster. But the store-bought with the combination of the air movers, definitely fine.
A lot of people are asking, can I just clean up small patches of mold myself with bleach? Is that a myth?
Definitely a myth, yeah. So don't use bleach. The bleach product basically has 10% chlorine, and then you've got 90% of water. So what's going to happen is if you spray, let's say, the wood frame, which a lot of basements in Ottawa have wood frame. If you're spraying that and you're thinking you're cleaning it, that it smells like it's been cleaned and whatnot.
But the water is going inside and being trapped there.
Yeah. So the water now is basically being absorbed because 90% of it is water. So that water is being sucked into the wood, inside inside your drywall, inside whatever it is that you're cleaning. And only 10% of that the chlorine stays on top of it. So now that moisture, now when you close it all up and it's being trapped into the product, when you close and finish the basement up completely, it comes back with a vengeance. Because a few months later, if you finish the drywall, the paint is going to start bubbling. And if you finish the drywall up, everything is being trapped now and it's not being dried anymore. And then you've got mold growing back up again.
If somebody has a kid or asthma in the house, is it even safe to be living upstairs while the basement is wet or gutted?
I would not recommend that. If you're sensitive, if you got respiratory problems, this is not a good time to be in the house. I would talk to the insurance people and see if they can accommodate and pay extra for you to move out. The reason being is unless the mitigation was done, but if you haven't done that part yet, the reason being is when you're doing a demo, even though you can shut off all the ductwork in the basement, and try to contain as much of the air possible and the dust into the basement, you've got the furnace that is blowing and sucking all the air from the basement. So some of it is going to escape in the upstairs main level. So having a respiratory problem, not really a good idea. But generally, if you don't have any asthma and you don't have any health concern, you'd be fine. But with asthma, I'd be concerned.
How fast does toxic mold actually grow inside the walls if the wet drywall isn't removed?
Yeah, usually you want to get, I know it's not doable because of the sheer volume of all the people that have had claims recently and been affected in Ottawa. But usually the mold, typically you want to get rid of, it starts growing within 48 hours. 24 to 40 hours is once you got some moisture being trapped somewhere, that will start turning into mold after 48 hours.
What happens down the road if a homeowner puts new drywall up before the wood framing is 100% dry?
You're just asking for trouble. That's simple. If you have water being trapped in there and you're closing it with drywall, there is no way for that to ever dry properly, and that's just going to turn to mold and it's going to come back tenfold probably.
After a crisis, a lot of shady contractors pop up. How can a stressed homeowner vet a contractor to make sure that they aren't getting scammed with them?
You can do a lot for sure. Now, there's a lot of ways to find out information about almost everyone, let alone the contractors. I would start with the contractors that have been in business for a long time. They withstood the test of time, which means they're more serious, they're better equipped, they have better knowledge. Not to say that the ones that, they've started a new business just recently are not good. There's some of them really good folks out there. But you run the risk of hiring people that don't have enough experience to deal with this and don't have the equipment to deal with the volume of the work that is out there. So then obviously you can check with Google reviews. That's a good place to start. You can ask for references, but I don't recommend that because references, it could be anybody's cousin's nephew, friend, and what have you.
Previous projects, maybe.
Previous project is actually a very good question. You can also go to the job site where the company is working on. So you can always ask the company, if you can come and visit them where the guys are working, because a lot of times you're meeting the salespeople are nice and presentable and so on and so forth. But in action, those are not the guys that are doing the work. A lot of times it's the actual guys that are doing the work there on the job site. So if you ask them to go and visit them at a job site, someone else's job site, just say hi, you get a feel for what kind of folks they are, because ultimately those are the folks that are going to come and work in your house.
So a lot of homeowners are Googling this right now. What is backwater valve and do I really need one?
Yeah, I would say yes. If you live in an older neighborhood, the water back valve is definitely a good investment. So what it is it's this little device, mechanical device that is installed in the concrete slab into the main sewer line.
Right.
What it does is it allows all of your wastewater from the toilet and from the sink to escape into the main sewer line of the city. But in an event like we had recently, where the sewer line was just overwhelmed and it was not able to take any water and wastewater, it was backing up into people's houses. So this little device, what it does, has a little gate. It closes on the reverse, so it can't basically come back into the house.
Right.
And it's reasonably priced. It's not too expensive. You don't see it. It's going to be installed into the concrete slab. So I would highly urge people to do that. This is a perfect time to do it.
If a house already has a sump pump, how often does it actually need to be maintained so it doesn't fail during the next storm?
I would say check it every day, but that's not reasonable. So yeah, no, I'm just joking. Not every day. But sump pump typically twice a year. You want to make sure that the floating device, because that's what activates obviously your the pump. So if you don't have water coming there, some of the houses obviously don't have water coming there, and this device doesn't turn on at all. So what I would do is I'd get a bucket of water, fill up the pit with water, and activate the sump pump. If the sump pump the floating device is lifted up and the pump is turned on and it has enough force, then you would definitely, you'd be good. In the bottom of the sump pump, what you want to do is clear out any debris and anything that could possibly jam the floating device. You want to kind of clear it up and what have you. And then on the outside, again, twice a year, fall and I would say spring. On the outside where the water is coming out, the pipe usually is outside somewhere in the ditch or outside the house. You want to make sure that's clear of any debris as well.
Do you suggest like a backup sump pump in case?
Yeah, so for the sump pump, it's actually very important that typically when we install sump pump, we recommend that we have 2 sump pumps set up at different level. So you got the main sump pump that basically is working as a primary defense against the water, and that works all the time. But in case that fails, the other one is set up just a little bit higher. So this one acts as a backup. So definitely a backup battery like marine life battery in case there's a power out. If you have a generator, obviously, keep it close by so you can plug it in. But 2 sump pump is the way to go. And also it buys you time because if the first one fails, the second one is still working. And when you do that inspection that we just talked about earlier, and you find out that the main sump pump is not working, you can change that and turn the new one into the primary again. So definitely worth it.
When it comes time to rebuild, are there water resistant material people should be using instead of like traditional drywall or laminate or no?
Yeah, so there's a lot of choices out there. Typically you want to get water resistant for the basement. So water resistant, you can get porcelain tiles, ceramic tiles, that would be one of them. LVT is also, which is that vinyl product for laminate flooring. That does really, really good. You can put an underpad underneath or underlayment for the LVT, which raises everything up. It's this dimple sort of plastic so that if it raises it up only by about 1/4 of an inch, the water kind of floats underneath the floor. So if you have like a little bit of condensation or a little bit of water coming underneath there, and it's a breathable area so everything dries up and it doesn't turn to mold and what have you. The drywall, the moisture resistant drywall, for sure, rock salt or sprayed insulation. Definitely something. You can also go with the baseboards typically are MDF because that's the most cost-effective way of doing them. You can get PVC baseboard as well.
For the homeowner listening right now who's staring at the ruined basement and feeling completely overwhelmed, what is the step 1 for tomorrow morning to do?
Yeah, so I would say start something small. So maybe, it's a lifetime memories a lot of people have, in the basement, and a lot of us haven't dealt with something like this in a very, very long time or ever in some cases. So when something like this is typically normal for you to be overwhelmed. But what I would say is the way to overcome that is maybe go downstairs, start with one room and start documenting everything that you've got. Get as much documentation as you can to prepare this for the adjuster. And if you can, definitely finish that phase of documentation, call the contractor as soon as possible so that they can start, we can start packing things up for you, putting them in the boxes, putting them away in the storage room if you have a lot of products down there or a lot of things down there. And then start with remediation, mitigation, because those are things that are very, very important right now. Leaving it is not an option anymore.
Due to the storm in Ottawa, in the rush to get life back to normal, what is the biggest mistake you see people making during the rebuild phase?
You definitely want to take your time and do some research in terms of the finishes of the products that you're going to do. A lot of times you want to take your time and figure out why this happened, step back a little bit, and what we can do to prevent this from happening again, or at least be better prepared if it happens again. So now because the basement is open, this is a good opportunity to upgrade on things because everything is open on things that normally would have cost you an arm and a leg because everything was closed off. You'd had to take everything from scratch. So now that you've got things open, what I would typically recommend is the backwater valve. That is important to install now. What that is the backwater valve is this mechanical sort of device that is installed into the main sewer line. It allows the sewer, your toilet water, the wastewater, the sink water to escape into the main sewer line of the city, but it prevents it has a floating sort of gate, so it prevents it from coming back. So a lot of people with the old infrastructure in the city that we've had, and older houses, obviously older neighborhoods, the storms just were not designed to keep up with the amount of water that we're getting with the weather changes and all that. So that's one thing. I would definitely recommend a sump pump. Sump pumps, now that everything is open, the floor is out of the way, we can put a sump pump and then get products that are water resistant. So you've got drywall, mold resistant drywall for at least the 2 feet that we're talking out. The fiberglass cement insulation, maybe we can go with spray foam, maybe we can go with rock salt. It does better with that. When you put the insulation back in, don't put it all the way down to the ground, leave it up higher a little bit. Just choose product that just do typically better with water resistance. That's what I would say.
So all my questions are answered right now. Do you have yourself any advice, any piece of advice for us so we can remember for the next time or even this time that can help us?
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. Water management is very, very important. So I would urge all the homeowners to get a water management plan. And what that means is, go on the outside, prevent the water from going inside. But by that obviously is you look at eavesdropping. Eavesdropping is your number one defense mechanism against water flood in the basement. Do you have the extensions from the eavesdrop from the wall long enough? Typically, if you have a graded driveway or graded earth around the foundation, you want to be away from the foundation at least 5 to 6 feet. If you're 1 feet away from the foundation, you're not doing yourself a service because you're collecting all the water from the roof, which is a lot, and you dump it right beside the foundation and it weakens that spot, and then the water may seep into the basement. So make sure the eavesdropping is working. Make sure the downpipe location is in the right location. They're not pulling up in the wrong spot. Make sure the extension of the downpipe is far away. So typically I said 5 to 6 feet. And equally important, make sure that the grading is away from the house. If you have a house that is a reverse grading, the water is coming into the basement, that's not going to help. So you have to figure out how to deal with that French drain or other ways of maybe burying the pipe underneath the ground. If you can take it to the ditch, we can definitely come up with a different solution for different scenarios. There's a lot of options, but those are definitely important. The other thing is a window well. So the window well is that draining properly. If you have an older house, it might have a weeping tile, which is that French drain. It's a pipe that collects the water that is poured into the window well, and it's supposed to connect with the weeping tile down below the foundation all around. If that is clogged up, the water pools up and rises to the window, and then it enters the basement. So what you want to do, the quick fix, obviously the right fix is to dig down everything, fix the weeping tile, and then backfill it, not with soil, but with a clear stone so the water can just go to the weeping tile. and it doesn't overwhelm the window well again. But the quick fix would be, get a plastic cover maybe over the top of the window well. So you can still allow natural light to come in, but the water is not getting in. And that would actually do really, really well, because the window well, if it's open and all the water comes in there, it rises up and you can get potential water coming in there. But the ultimate solution would be, if that's a concern and the water is not, it's building up too much, bring it down basically all the way to the footing, check the weeping tile, change that, and backfill the crushed stones. That would solve the problem permanently.
I know that you're so busy right now with different projects, but are you available if somebody wants you to inspect the house or your team to inspect the house? I know that you have a lot of projects right now, but what's the process if somebody wants actually your team to see that?
Yeah, we can definitely accommodate additional customers. We have a lot of other staff in here as well that can come by, take a look at the place, and come up with a water management plan, is what I would call it. So, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything. You can go on our website, fill out the form, and someone will get back to you, usually within 24 hours. If it's weekdays, if it's weekend, sometimes we're closed, so on Sundays. So just be patient with us. We'll get to everybody. It might take a little bit longer than usual. So if we don't get back to you within an hour, we'll definitely get back to you within 24 hours.
But I have this word from you. The inspection is free.
Inspection is free, absolutely. So we'll come in. At least we can get a plan for you, even if you don't do nothing, so you can have that for future, renovation if you want to do that in the future. Just a peace of mind, knowledge type of thing. That's not a problem for us at all.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot today. Thank you.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. All right, Martin, have a good day.